those comments and suggestions also would be here so that we'll be able to discuss in all. So, so to start with, today it is going to be a 30 minutes or like 30 odd minutes of dialogue, right? When I say dialogue, it is like exchange of thoughts, few perspectives that I have, that how I look, how things are changing with regards to AI and things. And then like we could also like add your suggestion and see if you have any questions, we would discuss that. So the whole idea here it is, there are like people who are like developers, designers, product managers, business analysts, and multiple roles we work, right? Even non-tech people, right? So like how if we take any innovations, right, from fire to like computers, computers are not just affected like people who work in like IT services, right, or like who build digital products. It has affected everybody. The same sort of impact AI also has. So this talk is more about giving you a perception or like perspective of how to approach either when you build a AI product or when you use a AI product in your day-to-day life. So how do we see that, right? Like how it is going to impact us and how we have to like change or like what we have to upskill ourselves or like what we have to learn. So that is what the whole 30 minutes or like odd session is going to be. Yeah. So for those who do not know me, myself like Siddarth, I currently work as a product strategist at an organization called Kelton. And with academic background, I have background in both like information and technology and psychology. So I like the interface between like humans and then machines, right? So that is where my niche is. And previous to this, I was like working for ThoughtWorks. And then my skill set includes like product design, innovation, and things. And areas of interest, I like spatial computing and then like augmented computing, which means like computers coming into the world. So I'm very excited about this particular time period of technology because that is where um, my sort of like niche lies in. So yeah. And also I'm part of like few communities in here in Coimbatore, like Google developer groups, Friends of Figma, and the product space. I have Dinesh also with me from product space today. So like along with like other organizers, like I do organize events, sessions like this. So that is who I am. And yeah, before we start this session, as I told you, it is going to be an interactive session, like wherein I will collect your thoughts and then we'll process it and then we will have dialogues around it, right? So the first question that I wanted to like put forth to all the audience, like is like think back like when you started your role, right? From then on till now, like maybe you could be a fresher, like then think of how education, right, has changed. So either it could be like any technology, not just AI. How your work like when you started and now has changed because of the impact of either technology. It could be AI, but like any technology, how it has changed the way you work, and then how you see like it going forward. So you can just like add your answers here. Let's see things, and then from there like we will take this conversation forward. So people online, I hope you are able to see the QR code. You'll be able to scan it, and then you'll be able to answer it. So even it could be how your skills have shifted, right? You could have started your journey as in a particular role, and as technology evolved, or like it could be cloud computing and things. You could have started as a developer and then you moved on to DevOps. So it could be like anything, right? How technology has impacted your career and then change in skill set and job. It's 6:15. We will take like 5 minutes for this activity. Okay. Yeah. So before we go into this answer, right, on a overall, right, what has like improved? Like what has changed? Like with all these answers, right? Productivity. Okay. Anything else? Um, yeah. So and most of you like I was just like skimming through the content, right? Like most of it was like more about like how do we access information, right? It could be through Stack Overflow, Google search and things. And now people are like commenting on stating that like now it is very easy to like access information or like filter out information, right? So again, like what has changed in this? Yeah, accessibility of information. So no, as a person, right? Like what it has like helped you in achieving, if you want to like put a like as a person like by looking into information much more faster and things, right? Like what has it resulted in? Yeah. So time. And most of the time like we always complain about not having enough time to do our work, right? When people question us like why didn't we do it like much more in a better way, quality, whenever this question pops up, either it could be us or in common like our teams or anybody, right? Like we often put the whole blame into time, right? If I had like more time, if I had like more time, if I would have thought better, I would run better and things, right? Now, actually, like I think that could not be an answer anymore, right? So even to write a program, like it is more about telling the system like what to write, and then it gets generated in minutes. Like it's not about all those mundane tasks, right? Which we were doing earlier. It's now slowly being replaced with technology, right? So let's there are two things, right? Like this is what the whole human civilization was driven by, which led to all these technological innovations, right? One is speed of doing things, and then the efficiency of doing things. Efficiency is nothing but like giving lesser. If you give one input, you get like three or four outcomes or outputs out of it, right? So that is what like efficiency score, right? By efficiency, that's what I mean here. So if we go back to history, right? Like from the hunter gatherers we were to like um, computers and everything, like all this technology, right? So this was driven by that goal to increase efficiency and speed of doing things. So for instance, if you take when we were hunter gatherers, like when we do not had any weapons, right, or even knife or like arch, things like that, the rate at which we were able to like find food or have food, right, the quantity of food it was less. And then people started creating efficient tools to hunt and find food, like dig and all the things, right? So the rate at which we were able to put in like less effort, and then we were able to find more food. The same with agriculture, right? When we were able to like comfortably, efficiently, we were able to produce food, then we got like a lot more time. And also even if you look at it from the professional side, right, when we were hunter gatherers, even like prehistoric era, like everybody were generalists. There are no specialists. Like you have to go and hunt, you have to cook, you have to eat and things, right? We have to do from start to end of the work. And then as the efficiency and the output started increasing, one way we found as an answer is to make people specialist. There would be an operator, their whole life it is about like taking a screen and then putting on the phone, right? If you have seen in factory workshops, assembly lines and things, right, people were made specialists to do things. And then those specialists were predominantly on the physical labor of side. Either they will be taking a nut and then putting inside a box, or taking a chocolate and then wrapping it up. Somebody else would be like pouring the chocolate, somebody will be cutting the chocolate. Then people were treated like specialists, so that again it is for our need to like increase efficiency and things, right? We made people to do like same thing. So again if you see, right, like the pre-industrial era before the industrial revolution, we had like so many people who are like artists, singers, musicians, etc., right? because there were no like specialist skills, and also like we had food and everything efficiently. People at time they started doing things which are on the higher side of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like rather than going and finding for food, we were like aspiring to create content, like create music, be in that creative zone. So again, digital era came in. So again with steam engine, like all electricity and all the things, what happened was, once we started like going into knowledge economy, then again we started creating some sort of a specific specialist, but not on the physical labor, but more on the knowledge side of things. So this is where we are currently, right? Like you could have like we often hear from people who are like elders, right, stating that, and like when we were used to do, like we go to bank, we used to say, like you do not even know to like fill a physical form now, right? So it's because like we are becoming more and more specialist in certain things. We are not. So again, just like have this thought in mind, like is it a problem, right, in a way, currently? Because when something goes from that specialization, right, like even now we are very much afraid of AI taking our job, because we are very specialist, and then if it is taken away from us, like what will we do? But the same thing has happened like for many years. Like every time when something new comes in, there were like specialists, like right from the industrial era, there were like specialists who sort of become irrelevant in that particular space, right? Okay, now we are in the AI era. Uh, Even without AI, also, right? The way with which the technology has evolved, COVID and all the things, right? From specialists, we also were been made into like collaborators. Till now, we have been collaborating with like other people. Um, if we are, just imagine, right? How many of you would have believed that people could all like work from home, and then we will be able to like produce the same software, like whatever we were doing, right? Not like all the things, but at least with the digital space, right? How many of you have even like thought that like it is possible? But something, when it was forced upon to us, we were able to like evolve, right? Like within that span of like 1 year or 2 year, like how many new technologies that came in for like improving the remote work, collaborating online and things, right? So uh, all those things, again from specialists we become collaborators. I think again this is my perspective and my vision. So with AI, like there are like, I do not know, like nobody, if somebody says this is what is going to happen next, it is a lie, but we could like speculate, right? So my speculation is like, again we are going back to those generalists sort of a category, where we will become a generalist in a particular field, wherein AI will become that specialist for like, there are like specialized models which would be like used so to do the work. But we would be, us humans, we would be more a generalist in that particular domain or category. So again, it is a cycle. Like that's how nature works or life works, right? So that is how I see where it started and where it is going. And then like other areas are like, for example, sustainability, right? So far in our whole evolution as human beings, right? We were doing things without being very intentional or conscious, right? The whole industrial revolution, right? Like whatever happened was like cost for like 50% of the world. The current climate change and all the things is because of that industrial revolution. We didn't even think of it, right? Like we were just focusing on speed and efficiency alone. We didn't focus on anything so far. Even now, until like we are starting those conversation about like sustainability, being ethical and all the things now, but it will take more and more precedence, because we have started seeing things, uh, the effects of the climate change and things, right? It could be floods, drought, heavy rains, um, floods, all the things. Now we are becoming more conscious, and then as human society, we are like starting focusing on things, so like well-being and all the things are now being focused upon. So we need people, again, like whenever we ask people, right, why didn't you do this, time was something which was told as a reason. Now we do not have no more that reason to be said, right? Like there is no more a problem with time of creating things, but what you are doing, right? As human species, it's about like telling what we are doing rather than saying like anything can be done. But what we are doing is what is going to be going forward, it would be like. And also we might have seen, right, like professions like philosophy and things were not given that much of importance. But now when it comes to ethics and all the things, right, like those sciences which have been ignored so far will have like more need in the moment, right? So again, people, so why everybody started reading computer science? Because there were more job opportunities in computer science and information technology. People started adopting to it. When the rise of like for other sciences emerges, like people of course will move and job roles and things should shift, right? So it is a part and parcel of life. So that is how things are going, and I just wanted to connect back the dots to give you an idea or like perception of how things are evolving. It's nothing new, but it's the same thing. But we were actually being fortunate in this particular era or this generation, right? Like we are seeing both the things, but also we are being affected by that also. Okay, so so far I told you like some idea of things. Like one more slide, like Slido thing, I wanted to get your answers on. What do you think, right? Like you or your team, right? When people ask you what is preventing you from doing something, right? Time, I have already given you the answer. Maybe like I wanted just to know what are the reasons you typically tell people, why didn't you like code this better, like why didn't you do this in the right way, like what has prevented you from doing that? Like either it could be you or your team. So time is like obvious answer which we have discussed already. Like what else could be there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, awareness. Okay. If you could like put it like so, there are people online, so they will also be able to see. Since it's a hybrid event, like we are forcing you also to be digitally available. um, Technical know-how or like knowledge, resource, analysis, communication, collaboration. Again, I would put like staying updated. I will combine staying updated with knowledge itself. The task is not, yeah, communication, money and cost. Again, we could put it along with resource. Okay, no structure, idea generation. I'm not sure like who have put incorporation, but if you want to like explain, you could explain. I'm not sure what incorporation means here. Okay, so again, like if you look at it at the abstract level, right? One is about like knowing how to do certain things, and then as things are like getting evolved day in and day out, right? Like there are new things coming in. As humans, we have certain limits. We are not like computers to like upgrade ourselves like every day, right? When things get updated. So that is like one limit for sure, like knowledge of how to things, and then things also keep evolving. And then the second one is resources. Again, keeping this like outside. How many of you seen like there is a new digital creative studio which was opened like couple of days by Rahman, right? So if you really think about like movie production, right, for somebody to go and create that much of a set and then like things, right? Imagine how many people's like creativity would not even have been witnessed by other people, right? Just because of the limitation of resources, just because I do not have money, just because like all those resources are very costly, I will not be able to like share my thoughts with this world, right? How many people would have, or how many ideas of that sort would have been totally not fruitful or like being matured and then shown, right? Like it would have lost because those ideas have never have matured. Just with one technology, right? Like when the cost comes down, how many people's ideas are like, even like, let's not, it's not about that people alone, right? As a human society, like the collective knowledge, right? Like how much ever we are going to witness. So again, technology is going to help us in that way, right? And then again, communication. So for us to like learn and communicate something very much efficiently, right? So that itself is a bigger a hindrance or like hurdle, right? When it comes to things. For example, somebody would be able to like very good thinker, but they might not be able to communicate that well in English, right? So even that, still now, like even that has been a bigger problem, right? People often say, how much ever you are like technically skillful, like you have to like learn, improve your communication. And you might have seen like many memes and things, right? Whenever you go to one appraisal cycle and thing, the common answer which is in like every appraisal cycle is like improve your communication, right? So now with this technology's evolution, right, and also AI, you could see and sort of all these hurdles being removed like one by one, right? So wherein we'll be able to like focus on our core essence of being creative, being building something and things, right? All those hurdles are like reasons which we are giving so far, it is going to be not true anymore, unless until you are not motivated. That is different, but if you're motivated, there are like resources and technologies which is available for you to build things. Okay, so with the whole approach towards like increasing the speed and efficiency, right, like we have decreased humanity by every day, right? So this is like other thing, again we complain for time, right? Like we do not when people do not like stop in signals, right? Like we say like it's getting late, I do not follow a rule. We take a lot of shortcuts just because to be like more efficient and do things faster. We always like put other people's life in risk, or like even the whole society, right? Like why do you not segregate waste? அதுக்கெல்லாம் நேரம் இல்ல. Like we do not have time to segregate waste and put it in things. Like most of the things when we say, right, like the whole evolution of this technology and then like AI and things, right? It is going to give you so much of time for us as humans, but for us to like figure out like how to be like human itself, right? So that is something I see going forward, like that could be another thing which is happening. So we have been talking about like how AI is like sort of doing helping us to get time back, right? So the next one is like how are we going to like work together with AI, right? So there is a shared intelligence space. So for example, there are like three types of intelligence. Like one is like assisted, augmented, and then autonomous. So like our mobile phone, you can categorize it as like assisted intelligence, right? It helps you to communicate, it helps you to take photos and things to remember and things, right? So it is like more in the assisted intelligence space. Then augmented intelligence, like all those new AI creative studios and things, right? So those are like augmenting the thing, right? For example, how many of you have seen there is a software called spinach.io. Like if you are into like development base, it's actually a AI project manager. So what it does is it will be part of your meetings, it will listen to your meetings. If there are any task, it will go and fetch the status of the task and give you. And if there are like any to dos you create, it will suggest you to create those things as Jira tickets. And also they have introduced something new yesterday night I got the email from the software thing, right? Like they have introduced something called AI agents for meetings. So all the softwares are like you have to pay, like nobody will give everything for free. So there are like free versions you can try. Like for 6 hours of meeting, you can use it for free. Um, so end of the day, what is even you can ask like what was the conversation we had it in the last meeting. It will go and fetch and give you the details about the last meeting. So again, if those things would be coming under like a augmented intelligence space, right? So currently, so far, like with assisted intelligence, it could be GPS, your mobile phones, your computers, and all the things. We were driving things, and then like with augmented intelligence, autonomous intelligence is something like which is going to come in future. I'm not sure like how long it will take, but with current time period, we are in the augmented intelligence space. So this again will help us to do things faster, do things efficiently. It also takes less time. So what you can do is like we as humans, right? We could plan things in much more efficient way, and then we can do things in the right way. If you take like software development, right? Like most of the time we say, why don't we practice like accessibility practice, right? The first reason is like we do not have time, we do not have resources to follow all those practices. And also, if you look at it from the other side of changes, right? If you take European Union, they have like stricter rules, right? Like if you are developing a product which is used by more than this many of people, it is a publicly available good, it should be like accessible and things. So it also has become a restriction for many companies, right? Since they do not have resources and things, they will not be able to do it. They will not be able to go and explore that market. Now with AI, that also like opens a door for us to build things in the right way, so that the whole world is your market, right? In a way. So yeah, okay. And most of the time, we often confuse autonomous. It could be self-driving, like drones driving parcels and things. So it purely takes its own decision to navigate and things. Like your navigation system, your map could be your assistive intelligence, but if it is like a driverless car, right? Like it takes its own decision. So those could be like autonomous agents. Even AI agents, like till what they are doing, right? Like if they are detecting things on their own and then they are solving it on their own, like without human intervention, then it is like autonomous. Okay. So the other confusion, like often people sort of feel threatened about this AI spaces, right? Uh, like whatever all the buzz we are seeing around now is on generative AI. AI is like a much more bigger dream. Um, I have seen like lot of talks and even like things, right? People often confuse AI with generative AI. Generative AI can just generate. So it knows like find patterns and then it can generate like what comes next, or it can like see a painting and then if I say it needs to be a yellow wall, it can create a yellow wall. So it works only with the existing knowledge and things, right? And then again, artificial intelligence has been a dream for humankind for long, and then we were been trying to do lot of experiments and things. Output of one such experiment is generative AI because of the transformer technology, which was found as part of this journey. And now there is a separate thing on like vision, speech, NL, natural language processing, planning, expert system, robotics, and things, right? For robotics and things, it will take like much more longer. And people often confuse like since we have been seeing so many movies with robots and things, we often get frightened that like robots will take over the world, it will become humans and things, right? It is very hard to become human, right? And who else better to know than us, right? So how many of like complex situation like emotional intelligence and all the things which we are built with, like how many sense, like we do not even know how many sensors like are connected from our body to the brain and then how it works, right? It's very hard to replicate that complex of a system in the world. But we will be able, AI, like in general, what we are calling now, it will be able to do specific task in much more better way than us. Like as I told you, because of this whole way which we are built in, we also have limitations. For examples, to remember something or to like process like bytes and bytes of data, right? Like we will not be able to do it much more efficient than systems. So this is where this co-intelligence or like collaboration, coexistence, we could call it as anything, that comes into play, right, with AI. So if we look at it in that way, you will be able to see it is more like it is helping you rather than like taking things away from you. So this is something I wanted you all to have in mind. And then if I put it the whole AI in an abstract level, right? So only thing which any intelligence system or like AI would be able to do is take data and then process the data and then give you some sum of a output. But using that output, like what you are going to do, what you want it to do, and all the things uh, will exist with humans, at least like the foreseeable things which we see, right? Either it could be due to compliance issues or it could be the limitations of the AI itself. It can give you thousands of ideas, but you have to pick like which idea has to be finally picked and worked, right? Like even you might have seen AI assisting doctors and things, right? It will help you in like diagnosing things, but the actual like diagnosis output, right? Like what I want to prescribe to a person, right? It will be in human side because that's where like ownership is in. If we take out those responsibility and all the things away from the system, right? That doesn't exist. Like society or the civilization cannot like work in that way. So we have like all these types of data and then senses, right? Even if you look at it from a sensory level, right? If you compare it with humans, it is like very limited. Um, it caters only the primary senses that we have. There is something called context, emotion, like we all have a living experience, right? Like those living experience are not with AI, and then AI cannot do better because of that only. Okay, so we have talked so much about like what AI is, like what is happening, and what us humans are perceiving AI and things, right? So, what are the shifts which is happening because of the introduction of AI, right? One, humans routine task. If you want it or not, it is going to be taken by AI. The next one is we are no more wanted for our technical skills. It would be more for our soft skills. For instance, even there were like few comments about knowledge being an impediment, things which are coming up new as an impediment, right? For example, if you want to build a secured login flow or something, right? If you go and ask somebody, they can tell you like only one flow which based upon their experience, and then there might be thousands or like new things which have come in. But when you ask use a AI along with your thinking, right, like it will tell you like what are the different ways available, and then you can pick the right one for your job, right? Before it was not possible, and also it was, as you said, like going to Stack Overflow or like searching on a search engine and things, right? It's very hard to do that. But now with AI, you might have seen like perplexity and other things, right? How much efficient it is making you to make decisions. But end of the day, again, like you are making decisions in all these places. That is more important. And what can we do is no more a answer, right? Like we can do anything. If you want to build something, there are like Replit and all the things, right? It will build you in seconds, right? If you want to launch a product, right? You have a product, and then if you want to launch a website or like create a product landing website, before that it is very hard. And also most of the time we think from the perspective of being developers and things. Imagine somebody who doesn't is not very tech savvy, but they are creating their product. Maybe it could be a boutique, right? Because of the digital illiteracy, they were not able to like expand to a wider market. Now with AI and all these creators and things, right, people are able to do it much more faster. Like again, like WhatsApp, Meta AI, you might have seen, right? For people who are been running businesses on like WhatsApp itself, right? Like now they are being more creative. Like whatever limitation they had because of the skill issues, now they are able to do it much more better. For example, even because of that, profit and other things were very less. Like because of that, many startups or entrepreneurial journeys have been cut down because the expenditure of running a business was like much more higher. Now because of this AI, like I could run a single person company now, which as a person I could like be able to do like marketing. I'll be able to do sales. I will be able to do customer support, all the things with agents and this tools and softwares, right? And also it's most of the time if you see what this current generation of AI has or generative has helped us is all these are like more a conversational interfaces. You might have seen in Canva and things, right? Like if you're running a brand, if you want to create a creative, just like how you tell a designer to do it, you can just tell the AI model and then it will do it for you. And then you can also tell it to do like 5 variant and 6 variant. It will not get pissed off because of you, right? So all these things are like advantages. Like it might look very small, but it is an enabler for a lot many people with higher aspirations. And then this is where like the core of the topic today comes in, right? So from explicit knowledge, we have been moving to implicit knowledge. Now what is needed from us is a tactic knowledge. Tactic knowledge is nothing but the living knowledge that I told you, right? Like from your childhood, the way you have grown, like the way you have been treated by the society, the things you have learned and things, right? It gives you a persona, characteristic and things, right? So you cannot like create a system with this many variants. You- If you put it will be collective like one variant, but it will not be like so unique as you, wherein all those decisions that your intuitiveness and things, right? You cannot teach AI about intuitiveness, right? It comes because of your life. And then till now, like as I told you, we were focusing on like speed and efficiency, growth. But now we would be like focusing more on being responsible. And then till now, like most of the even now, if you see, right, if you take my parents' generation, right, like being into 9 to 5 job, doing the same thing for the whole life and things, it was like very common. Now, even if you take in this generation, there are no 9 to 5 jobs itself. You cannot just like finish your college and then you get into a job. You can be in the same job like till retirement, or like you're no more there, right? So now there is no choice like that. It would be always flexible. Like you'll be having core skills, you will be like working on multiple things. So this is how the whole shift in the society and also the way we work and things are going to be. Okay, so I have been telling you like what is happening, like how do we prepare ourselves all right. So the intrinsic knowledge I talked about, right? So do you agree that like AI is able to do this better? Data and information processing, intellectual knowledge or logical reasoning, like AI is able to do better. It has like deeper knowledge on any subject in day one, like which it is not possible for us. So this three areas of knowledge, right? This is where like AI is very good at. Till now we have been doing this. For example, you might be a physics teacher through your whole life, right? But now, if you're in a teaching profession, you have to become a better teacher. It is no more about being a physics teacher. It is about being a good teacher. So that's how like all the job professions would be changed, right? It is no more enough to being a Java developer or like a Python developer and things, right? It is more about being a good software developer. So that is how the change in roles would be, and then we would be doing more on the understanding, wisdom. We will be creating purposes and things, right? We will be aspiring higher, because all the low level grunt work would be taken care by the artificial intelligence. That's what our whole aspiration is. And also it helps us to be like much more efficient, and all the things which we are aspiring earlier also is possible. Now it is also like opening up doors for us to be more responsible, more intentional also in a way. Okay. So these are like three things which AI cannot do by itself. So all these things are like something which needs blood, flesh, living those experiences and things, right? That is what will lead us to be in this space. Yeah, I know like this question will come. That's why I have defined creativity, critical thinking, and things. Everything I have defined like what I'm referring to here. So creativity is not about like generating like art or things. Typically, that's what we associate with creativity. So here, creativity means wherein you are able to like create novel ideas, right, or solutions. That is what I refer here as creativity. It could be anything. Next one is like we often hear this word like thinking outside the box and things, right? Like AI will be always able to think inside the box with the information it has. It cannot think outside the logic. If you ask to like do something wrong, right, there are like guardrails it will never do. And also when I say creativity, like how will we able to like increase our creativity? So these are the ways through which you'll one person could be able to like so typically we say like it's a inborn skill, right? Like creativity is not an inborn skill. Creativity can be acquired. I think it has gone. Okay, creativity can be like acquired, right? Like by doing certain things. So if you ask me, like these are some of the ways with which you will be able to enhance your creativity or like become more creative. Like the one thing is like exploring new subject, asking questions and challenging assumptions. So when I tell you like exploring new subjects, till now like what was preventing us from doing it? Again, time, right? And then like even when we talk about when we are creating solutions and things, right? Oh, there is always this thing about like divergent and convergence in design thinking. If you might have know like problem solving and things, right? So most of the time we fail to diverge because we are afraid to like explore, and also it will take like more time for us. So since we have like always a shorter span of time, we try to do things like we think up of a solution, we just build it, we do not explore things. But when we have a feasibility or like possibility to build things faster, you will start to try more solutions, right? For example, if it takes x hours to build something now, if you use a AI assistant or if you use some sort of a technology which helps you to build it like x minus 4, you will be here with the same time you will be able to like explore four solutions, alternative things. Just by exploring alternatives, we will be able to create something new, right? Otherwise, we will be always creating obvious things. So again, as humans, this is what we will be looked forward into, right? And also, it is about like connecting things between two different things, right? For example, if you learn physics, you might have seen people who are like very successful entrepreneurial, right? Like they have like multiple subject knowledge. If you take, people often say like all the cool typography or things which we have on our phones and computers is because somehow Steve Jobs went into a typographic class. When he was developing computers, he was like more concerned about like how typefaces look in computers, right? So similarly, you might have seen Elon Musk like being a physicist and things, right? He sort of takes a knowledge from one subject matter and then like put it on something else, and then that's how new things are born. So for us, since we will be having like more time, we should be doing it, or you will be forced to learn like new things in turn, like which sort of helps to like increase your creativity. So creativity would be like one skill which would help you in like thriving the AI world. And to do that, like you have to like explore new subjects. Even like previously, we had always this issue, right? We can't go and ask somebody, even though we know there are like so many questions, even in the solution which we are building. In it could be in our classes and things, right? We often try to not ask those questions because somebody would think bad of us, or somebody might think in a different way. Now with AI, like GPTs and things, right? You can ask questions in different ways to until you get satisfied with the answers that you're getting, right? So again, it helps. In turn, it helps to like increase your creativity, right? You don't settle for less. You always aspire for more. Okay. Next one is like critical thinking, right? So again, critical thinking also goes back to that convergence and divergence I told you about. Like to think critically, you have to think all the possible ways things could go right, go wrong, and things. Right. Again, if you have taken some sort of like entrepreneurial class and things, right? People would often say there is a philosophy in software development wherein the team itself tries to break the things it tries to build. So that's how security practices are often tested. You wear the competitor's hat or like thing, and then you try to break your own product. So again, we do not do that like more often because of the time and then things, right? So when you have this time, like all those best practices which we have not been doing so far, we would have time. Till now, if time is the issue, if motivation is the issue, like then is a different thing. We will be forced to do it. But now all this would be possible, and then you have to do it, right? You cannot, if you're not motivated to do that, if somebody who is doing that would sort of overshine, because in most of the things the playground has been leveled in a way. You cannot say like I'm like a 20 years of Java developer experience, right? Even the same code like a new fresher could develop now, right? So those level playing fields are level, so you have to like do things which are more on the leadership knowledge, being responsible and things, right? So again, for that, critical thinking is would be an important skill going forward. Again, how do you improve your critical skill? There are like multiple frameworks to apply all this. It's just the will from us to do that is important. So whatever information you get, right? Like you go and challenge this information. Previously, it is very hard to do data visualization, right? Now, if you have a data, and then if you want to know whether it's a bias or not, there is a model to run it and then get answer. But it's the will that is needed to go and feed that data into that model and then look at the result and analyze it, right? So that is only missing. It's no more like skill gap. It is about the will and the intention. Okay. And then the third one is like the emotional intelligence. Again, emotional intelligence, it is about managing my own emotion and also like acknowledging like other people's emotion, right? So that is what emotional intelligence is about. And this has, I feel like as per my knowledge and my experience, this is like very, very critical in building your teams, right? Like unless and until you know like what somebody is going through, um, like most of the time we make decisions from our faster brain, and then people could get affected and things, right? So again, like it's the same time factor when you go and ask leaders or like managers or people, right? Why are you not doing this, like the the amount of work that I have, I do not have time for like looking into these things, right? So we have been ignoring so many things which have to be done obviously earlier, but we were not been doing it because of telling time as one reason, right? For now, like as I told you, like Spinach AI, like it listens to your meeting, it creates your MOM, it creates your task, it monitors and things. Now, as a manager, you have to do your core work of like managing people, managing your team, acknowledging their emotions, like you being things, right? So whatever all these roles were really created for, people have to do it because we have been forced to do the mundane task again and again over a period of time, and then like we left out the whole core purpose and then we started doing tasks alone. So that is where the whole point about like us moving from task machines to being a assisted like co-intelligence people, right? Wherein we are moving from just task creators or like task finishers to like strategists and things, right? So that is where the whole journey is. And again, I'll share this slide. So again, to improve your emotional intelligence. So couple of not couple of like 6 months or back, I actually came across a concept called like thinking environment. So what a thinking environment is, like again, it has like a lot of frameworks to how do you create a thinking environment within your company or a team. So there are like things, right? For example, you all being intentionally being in the meeting, like not using your phones. And also like when you are listening to somebody, you have to look in their eyes and then speak. There are like so many things which we have over the period of time which we have like left out. So we have to be like very intentional in doing that. So those frameworks and methods again help us to like build all those things. So whatever I told you, right, like either it could be critical thinking, creativity, or emotional intelligence, all this are skills which can be learned. We are not like focusing to learn this because it was not asked as a output or outcome in your appraisals or job cycles and things, right? But going forward, the future work which we are going to do, we as humans would be measured on all these things, not on the number of tasks we completed and things, because those things would be more assisted and things, like you are getting help to do all those things. You cannot no more tell people that like I was busy with my task and things, I was not able to do fulfill the intended role I have to do it, right? As a developer, I have to write good code, I have to write test cases, I have to follow like a modular principle and all the good practices of things. And you cannot no more tell that you didn't do it just because time is not there, right? All those things are being assisted now, you will be able to do it. Like same with managers, like whichever role you go, right, across the board. Okay. So that is where the whole point of us becoming from like task managers or like task completers to being strategic thinkers and so on is going to come in future. And yeah, maybe like I will pause for a minute. Like if you have any question answers, you have like opposing point or you want to add something to it, um, we can discuss it and then we can close it.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi. So we were talking about this creativity as an aspect which AI cannot do with your definition. So I was just thinking, we keep hearing about this term called super thinking and something that is going to come. So do you? What is your thought process here? If not today, maybe today's AI cannot do it. Is it a future possibility? If so, are we nearing it?
Yeah. So again, AI will help you to think, right? Like, but not it will make a decision out of itself. So end of the day, it has to be somebody who owns that decision. Even like even now there are like lot of ways, like you can go and ask a model to out of this five which is the best, right? It will give you a rationale behind it, but end of the day you have to again add like your own experience and then your own need and then pick something, right? For instance, let's put it in this way, right? You could ask which is the best technology out of five. It could recommend you the best of the best, but it could be like too much of cost or uh, the company, you might be having certain loyalty issues with that company, etc., right? Like you will not be doing it. So it would be again, as human you will be making the decision, but it could like answer like all those questions, right? Is it like ethical company, like what ethical practices they follow? You can ask it like as many as things, it will help you to think and make better decisions, but it will not make decisions for you. Maybe in automating task it will make decisions. If it is like I told you, right, if it's a logical thing. If a car is coming and hitting you, like you want to move left or right, it will do it. But where you want to go, like unless and until you tell it, you cannot go and sit in a car and then like it takes you somewhere, right? It will not happen that way. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So, like we as humans, right, we try to maximize the output of anything, right? So, thinking of AI as maybe an assistant to us, right? So, if you are given an assistant, the person employing us, right, might think, okay, you are given an assistant, now you can do more with the same amount of time. So, like if this is the way of thinking, then our assumption that we have more time with AI, right, that is not so correct. Right,
Yeah.
so we
So
then fall into the same old trap of what is it, optimizing things, making things more efficient, and so on.
yeah, so that is where the whole responsibility of us is going to come, right? Like till now, we have been focusing more and more on only efficiency and speed. Even you might have seen all those things which are happening within across like all the industries and things, right? People are like the companies are not being very ethical in a way, right? Even if you take just to like I'm refraining from bringing out the brand names, but even if you take like one of the largest e-commerce in the world, right? Like they had warehouses and things. Initially, people were being employed, and then once robots came in, like they have been sacked, etc. And then like they were not given like upskilling and things, right? So now there are like laws and regulations which is coming out to refrain this, right? Even like many countries, the number of work hours has been coming down and all the things. So again, it is like responsibility of the companies to how to like sustainably like move things forward, right? Just because you have like more time, I told you, right? Like humans have our own limitations. Machines can work 24 hours, but humans cannot work 24 hours. Uh, so you need time to think. If you want somebody to be creative, they need that thinking time and things, right? It's not about like machines. Like you ask somebody to be creative, they cannot be creative. As I told you, creativity is about like learning about things, gathering all the information, crunching it, and then thinking out loud, thinking out of the box, and all the things will not happen just like by toggling the switch. If we want that to happen, like companies and things also will be forced to change in that way. uh, with more time, like what we are going to do is what is going to define the organizations also. If you're again going back to the same rat race of just like complete more task, then the whole point of having assistive intelligence itself is not will not be fruitful.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very well said.
Yeah, so like one, if even if you take European Union and things like, they already have this AI law, right? Like uh, yesterday's like whatever Llama 3.2 which was launched, people in Europe will not be able to access it because of this new law. So again, people there are now complaining that because of this compliance and laws, we are losing out when the whole world is going and creating and innovating on things. We have been not able to do it. Like there is also like other con of it, right? Like people are now opposing things. So eventually there would be a middle ground where things would be in place. And when we have like more time and then the productivity increases also, right? There would be like basic pay. There would be a lot of gig economies which would be coming out. Rather than us working in like large organization, there would be a lot of siloed specializations and things would be coming in. So even if you take food industry, right, or cloth industry, they have been mechanized, robotic, and all the things where all the technologies to produce things in lot more quantity in less time, and all the things were introduced, right? Now after that, now people are going back to boutique sort of scenario, right? Because people will be bored out of things which is like more mundane, right? We need like differences and things. So eventually this commercialization will not work for long. Okay. Any other questions? Again, always when we feature speculate, right? There are like one utopia and then one good thing, right? You might have seen this movie Wally, right? Like wherein people are not even like moving around. They will be like given robotic chairs to keep things very efficient. If you walk, like your energy will be wasted. So they will have like robotic things so that you have been moved around by robots, right? Um, no, no, the English Disney one. So there would be always two things. Like it again, it is upon us as a collective, responsible society, right, or like human civilization to channelize things in the positive way, right? Like most of the time, I know, like even now, if you take social media and things, right, during when social media and things were invented, we didn't had this thought at all to build something. Thinking out well-being of people, what it will cost. And now, after that burning our fingers, now at least we are more conscious about things. Right from the day when all this AI, like Gen AI, all these things started, there is like parallel voice about making things very ethical, being responsible. There are like more tools. Like as soon as like data sets are being released, also there are like additional tools which is being released to check biases in your data and things, right? So at least like we are previously we are not even aware about like we have to do this. Now we are aware about it, and then there are like people who are talking about it. Uh, it should like evolve as a thing, right? Like we cannot. So again, like it is about we could speculate, we could not control the destiny of things, right? So again, there is always a any technology or like not even technology, like it's always a double-edged sword, right? Most of the time we try to go to the bad side and then we come back. Even if you take even global warming, right, there are like people who do not even like accept global warming is a real thing. And then the other funny part is, even if you take global warming, the countries which are affected, right, were not the reason for this global warming itself. So it is about people to take responsibility, right? Like European Union now, like they're putting GDPR and all the things, right? Like even from climate change and things, like the industrialization itself started there. All the carbon emissions, fossil and things were started from there. Right now, they are converting into like things. So again, it is responsibility of us as being collective to make all those decisions. Right? People have to also take extra efforts to do that.
Yeah, I think similarly, the fundamentals, the foundation of this Gen AI, I think it boomed only after ChatGPT became popular. And how ChatGPT became popular was by scraping the web with which was not. If it was done by somebody like Google or Microsoft, people would have questioned it. They would have called them evil, but nobody questioned OpenAI so much. And now OpenAI is not even being open. Their model is not exposed. They are charging, and so now and then we start talking about ethics of the results created by the AI, while the foundation itself is like this.
And
Yeah.
even now, if you take OpenAI, right, like there are people who are like founders of OpenAI. So like even yesterday, 3 people quit. Um, People are now coming and I feel like they're trying to solve the mistakes of. If you have seen, there is this book called Hooked. The whole model of that book, right? Like that was the basic backbone of how social media works. How do you like hook a person into your product, right? The same author, like after like few years, like he created a remedy for it to see, like so sometimes like unintentionally things would be done, but again it's about taking responsibility and then fixing things, right? Now, if we are talking about that and we have not done that at all, like now things are happening. Now people are talking about how do we pay back people. If, for example, if some of your data is being used, how do we pay back, etc. Like those concepts are being coming in. So again, sometimes you break things and then you learn and then you fix it. Yeah, that's how we are not perfect, right? As humans, we are always imperfect in a way. That's what even makes us human. Do you think reinforcement learning could be hyped back? That's again, it's a, what do we call? It's a way to do things, right? It's just not the whole technology itself. It's one way of doing things. There could be like multiple more ways which would be coming in. So you cannot say like this would be like forever, right? We cannot say that. Uh, yeah, that's what I told, right? Like we will again become generalist in a way. So if you have certain things to sell, you have to do it in the same way. Like previously, before all this like social media and things, right? Like even if you have a idli shop, like you have to go and sell it, or even if you cultivate a fruit, right? You have to go to the market and then sell it, right? Like the same thing will happen now. Even if you see the same thing is happening with the gig economy, right? Like if you take all the freelance sites and things, right, wherein you are going and building a brand, you are showing people like how you are better than like rest of the crowd, right? That already started happening in a way, right? So even if you take China is like in most of the way, like they are like always running ahead of the crowd. That is a concept of citizen points or something, right? Like even all those things would be coming in. And also like very importantly, carbon footprint is something which carbon cost or carbon tax is something which would be coming in future. That's what like most of the people are speculating. Even like how much carbon efficient you are writing your code, and all the things will also be considered as a factor when you become a developer. When you say you are a developer, right? I could write this like this efficiently and things like. We should do. Yeah. AJ is not. AGI இப்போதைக்கு வராது. At least like as per me, like it has like lot many things to be solved before we bring in a age artificial general intelligence. But what would happen is like now things are getting mature, right? There are like specific models. Even if you see now, other than the general purpose model, it's taking too much of energy, too much of cost and things. It's not feasible or viable in a way to build solutions. Now people have started building small language models, SLMs build பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க. So it would be like we will be creating like specific models for things. It will not be general. There would be a general purpose model, but it would be powering organizations like Google. For example, with Google or Gemini model, it connects with your docs, multimodal and all things. For not all the purposes. So ஏன்னா அப்பதான் எஃபிஷியன்சி அதிகமா இருக்கு. ஜெனரல் பர்பஸ் மாடல்ல வந்து அந்த எஃபிஷியன்சி இட்ஸ் நாட் தட் மச் குட். So what will happen is like we will start maturing things into like individual verticals of things. And also you do not need some a general model like who is a chef, who is a software developer, who is a thing like. It's just to show the world like this can be done, but for there needs to be like specific model so that it can like learn on its own. It has the same limitation we as humans have, right? Like energy, um, memory and all the things. Yeah. So again, it is about like defining what is thinking, right? When I say creativity, it is about taking something from one place and then connecting the dots, right? AI will be able to connect those dots. If you think about thinking as like connecting the dots and then providing you a solution, that is different. Being creative is different. For example, if I ask you, what are the top 5 restaurants in Coimbatore? If you are a food blogger, you know, right, what are the 5 top restaurants, right? It comes with your knowledge and experience. The same thing wherein like, again, if you really abstract it, it's a data, and then based upon the data you're answering me. The same data could be available due to like Zomato reviews or Google reviews, etc. So when I say thinking, right, like what sort of thinking it is what, you know, the problem with like language, right, like it's very abstract, like we can associate like multiple meanings out of it. So whatever data is available, it will be able to like answer it. Even it will be able to like speculate things. Like there are models which they have been creating, right? It will say, why don't you try this? But again, to try that, you need a human thing, right? So other than the thinking difference that AI cannot do. Okay. Yeah, I read it. So again, when I say it is hyped, right? Like why it is getting hyped? Because it is a general purpose technology. It is not only for software developers, or it is not only for, it is for everybody. That is why it is getting hyped. If it is something like very specific, like Java வந்து புது version விட்டுருக்காங்க, something like that, the whole world will not get hype, right? Even like Angular came, Flutter came, like there are so many things which came. Even like it revolutionized the way we code, develop and things, right? But the world didn't get excited because AI is a general purpose technology like electricity. With electricity you can run a cooker, electric cooker, you can run a big machine, you can run a car. It's a general purpose technology, so that's why people are getting very excited. Uh, yeah, they have a solution. They can think of a solution they can use. Okay. Multimodal LLMs, like as we were showing the data, right? Uh, if a foundation model is able to like process all this data, then it is a multimodal LLM. Like if it is like text only, it's a text-based LLM, audio-based LLM, and things. It's just specific models. So for sure, like AI will not be saturated because, as I told you, it's a general technology. Um, we will, like how computers are being used, AI also will be continued being used. Another, we have been using AI for so long without even knowing, right? Like your image background remover, like filters, all the Snapchat lenses you are using, some way or somewhere it is AI. Okay, so I'm not sure how many of you, yeah. So there is this tool called UI. No, it is how many of you? I don't know. Like you might have seen Sanju in previous Google Meets, right? So he has developed this. So what it does is like if you go and just tell it like what you need to develop, right? Like in any agile practice, right? The user story map is something you start with, right? It generates like whole user story map for you, like with one line of sentence. So there are like multiple tools which is coming in. So most of the time, the problem when we go into a team, right? It's always that cold start problem. When we do not have anything, like staring at the whiteboard is always a problem for us as humans, right? So all these AI tools will give you some sort of a data on which you can start pondering upon and then like do, right? Yeah, then so again I said creativity, like you need data for that. Like AI will fetch all the data and then you put your thinking hat and then you start uh, finding relationship between making meaning out of those data. So again I'm saying like AI process the data and gives you in a structured format. You can restructure it the how many times you want until you see a meaning out of it. So sentimental analysis you can do with AI. Because for me to process like thousands of messages, reviews, comments, and things, right? It's very hard. So these AI tools will help me as product manager to process information in much more efficient way. The end of the day, any technology, right? Like there would be a cycle wherein like so many things will sprout, and then all these things would be combined into a single workflow. That Yeah, like even like same with like app stores, right? When mobile phones initially got launched, there were like so many apps to do like individual. Like now, most of the things is done by the OS itself, right? Yeah. A dot com bus is like when it failed. Like every time we learn, right? Like after dot com bubble, like app store bubble didn't happen because we were able to be aware of it in a way. And also like as Prasanna was telling, right? End of the day, like it comes to marketing. There are so many tools. How do you go and like reach out to people like this tool is available, right? So there are like so many tools like which we already do not know like that exist would solve our problem. So that itself is going to be a bigger problem for us to solve in a way. So okay, maybe since we were talking about like my speculation about like there would not be any softwares at all going forward. There would be services and platforms which will be available. As a user, you will be building your own softwares to consume things, right? That's what I see. How uh, like that's what like ambient computing, augmented computing I was talking about, right? Wherein like all this people will be like providing you services. For example, Zomato. Like even if you take NSDL, not ONDC, right? Sorry, ONDC, right? If you take Zomato is using ONDC's portal to do build on their platform, right? Namayatri and all the things. So there are going to be platforms, and then you can build like whatever solution you want. Now these players are building. I think it would be more like on your phone when you get it, like you will say like access this service, access this service, access this service. If you get this, like you will be creating your own workflows to be like more efficient. That's how I see the future of how personal computer interaction would be. And even if you take GPTs and all the things, in a way, they are trying to do the same thing. In Gemini now we have something called gems. It's same thing, gems. It's same thing as GPTs. So as somebody was telling, right, like these platforms like Microsoft or like Google, right, like they have more regulatory and compliance things to be followed. If something fails, it's going to affect a bigger ecosystem of things. So there would be always guardrails to do certain things, right? If you want to do, there is a Gemma coding model, right? Like you can use it separately and things. So Gemini is primarily made for like end users. It's not for like particular. There is now a code interpreter separately in Gemini, which you can use it to do that. So again, like each company has its own thing. Like again, it would not be nice to say like these people are doing good, and each and everybody has like certain constraints. So yeah, you should like pick your model and then like tools best for your use case. Why it should be someone like you can write it. Um, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Salary is going down and things, right? Again, the way we evaluate money, right? You might have heard about like grandparents and things telling like Horlicks bottle was available for 2 rupees and things like that. Now, if you go and tell somebody that like energy drink is available for 2 rupees, like nobody would even uh, consider you like very seriously, right? So again, like when it comes to like value of money, right? It is again a perception as a society as we evolve, things would change, right? Like so, now due to inflation and things are this way, like when productivity and things are coming, like maybe when the cost of production itself is very less, the automatically the cost of the products also would come down. So we might not be worried about like salary going up and things, right? It would be balanced out in a way. So yeah. Any other questions? Thank you. And yeah, if you want to connect, like this is my site, like you can reach out to me. I will.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you, Avinash. Actually, there are snacks available, like we could network over snacks. Thank you.
Hey, one thing, would you be sharing this presentation? Is it possible?
The organizers, like maybe they could drop it on Meetup as a link, reply link.
Okay, yeah, that would help. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.